Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Advanced Kayak Angler. I had a good weekend, went out, I took a day off Friday, caught a couple of good fish, 122.5, so it was a lot of fun. Working on my monthly at Iron City Kayak Anglers Monthly, trying to do well in that. And I started finally, because I've had tournaments every weekend, finally started putting live scope on my kayak. So I worked on that a lot of Easter Sunday in the afternoon. So getting there, it'll be on there for too long. I didn't want to add it like in between tournaments because I'd, waste time. I don't know how to use it, you know, like I understand how to use it, but I haven't used it myself. So I didn't want to do it during a tournament week. So there we go. So this week, we're going to be talking about how to get better. The episode's going to be called 3 Ways to Improve Your Kayak Fishing. And I brought on 2 guys, maybe 3. Justin's having some issues, but I've got Sam Cox, Kyler Branaum, and Justin Patrick, if he can make it. He's been having some technical issues, but appreciate y'all being on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, guys. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. So how this kind of came about is I was thinking like all the different I watch a lot of YouTube like everybody, we all watch everybody's stuff. We were talking about Milliken and other people before the show, but I mean, you watch all these tips. I thought maybe like a condensed down where if somebody wrote these down, it'd be tips from each person, and then you can kind of go and do your research on each one. So what our goal is, this each person's going to say one, and then we'll go through each person has 3, and then we'll kind of say a little bit about each one. And if you have a question, you can either ask the angler, shoot them a message. I'm sure Sam or Kyler would be happy to answer any questions you have. Hopefully I'm speaking for y'all, but if you have any questions, holler at them, me, or do some research. And it's a great place to start. And maybe you'll find one that it's like, oh man, I wasn't even thinking about that. So, a good jumping off point to get started. Some different things if you're kind of in a rut and you're trying to get better, maybe a topic that you haven't thought about, what you should do. So there we go. So that's how this got started. So 3 ways to improve your fishing. I'll start out since I'm the host and, break the ice here. First one I have is sharpen your hooks. I think it's not just sharpening your hooks. Like inside of I have like a Hobie, my compartment. Oh, let's see if we got Justin here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Heck yeah, man. There we go. And we got Justin Patrick.
All right. Yeah, it's I was spooling in StreamYard earlier. So if you don't clear it out of your browser history, then it interferes with the microphone or camera, something like that. So
wow.
I'm out of practice, man.
I did not know that.
In a while.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So I'm going to say I talked about sharpening your hooks. So it's either having a hook sharpener on your kayak or sharpening them at home if you want to. But sometimes if you're cranking all day, you'll get like a rolled over tip. Or, every winter I save some money and I go through and sharpen every single hook I have. It's like, just my annual routine, or replacing hooks. But a good pair of split ring pliers. I have some that are called like Texas Best. And I've also heard like jewelry ones are really good. Mm-hmm. But like a small one, because if you get a big one, they just suck. But especially like little split rings, man, they get tough. But just paying attention to your hooks, and that can also be, having the right kind of hook, whether it's EWG, light wire, heavy wire. Just generally overall, I think Kyle Welcher would be a good resource. He talks a lot about hooks, but I think once you get, I'm not talking about me, but more of the upper level guys, they start thinking about those minor details, especially hooks, that can make such a big difference. There we go. Sam, how about you, man?
The first thing I said was just pretty much success is contagious, man. Surround yourself with people that do well and people that win on occasion and that are like-minded like you. Try to learn from those people. A lot of times we all share breadcrumbs, what you did throughout the day that helped you, that maybe I didn't do. And try to pay attention to that stuff and pick up on it. Share your success with the other anglers and learn from your unsuccessfulness also. Try to see what you can do better. And that's something, like our last tournament with Coleman, you were killing it on a dirt bait. And I never tried a dirt bait all day.
Yeah. What do you have that behind? Is that a cat?
No, that's my dog.
Oh, okay. I know if you were being attacked or what.
No, that's the dog.
All right. Yeah, I will say that, like, especially whenever you're on the water, like in a tournament and talking to somebody afterwards and find out, like you're saying what I threw that day or what you threw one day, like find out specifically what you didn't do that day. I find those most helpful, not just, oh, I went out today and I caught them on a lipless. Like same day on the water, what you did and what I didn't do. That's a big learning, big way to learn for sure.
That's a good one too, man. Just because surrounding yourself with the right people. We all love going and traveling to these tournaments. We all have a good time hanging out. Kyler and I have stayed together before, and we have a good time, man. It's good memories, but we invest a lot of money into this, and if you surround yourself with the wrong people, you'll find yourself doing more beer drinking and stuff like that, and dealing with a hangover than you will actually fishing. So you got to be careful with who you surround yourself with, man. There's a lot of people that are out here to really try and learn and get better, and there's a lot of people that just use this as an excuse to get out of the house and stuff like that, man. So that's a really good one.
Yeah, for sure. Kyler?
Man, so like my first one was just, and this has been talked about across a lot of elite anglers, is just control the controllable. Control what you can, whether that be prep work, on the water, mentality stuff. Like control what you can control, and that's been really big for me this year, just because my first 3 events have gone horrible. I would have a very good practice, or I felt like that I was on them and I was going to do very well. And when you get absolutely crushed and you have no fish halfway through the day, or you only have 3 hours left, like at that point your mind starts scrambling. You start going into panic mode, trying to throw everything. Just control yourself, take a minute and go with your confidence. And that tends to work out a whole lot better in the end than just getting angry and being upset, or breaking off tying knots. Because when you get upset, then you start making mistakes that didn't need to even happen in the beginning, in the first place. So yeah, controlling the controllable.
Yeah. And unintentionally, I didn't mean to have 4 guys with beards on here, so 4 bearded boxes. Yeah, totally.
It goes with the name of the show, man. Beer, bass, and
yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Justin, how about you?
Man, my first one's going to sound probably a little cliche, but it's do your research. Either there's a surface level to that, just kind of looking at a lake and browsing it over, or if you have experience with the lake, just kind of maybe going and looking at some stuff, around what your comfort level is, where you've been and whatnot, maybe trying to dissect that area a little bit more. But there's a more in-depth, understanding of your area. And, one of the biggest challenges that we have as kayak anglers is we have a very limited amount of time to cover a lot of water and really dissect these massive fisheries where, these guys in bass boats, they can zip 70 miles an hour down from one spot to the next. It takes us roughly an hour to get back to the ramp, load up, and go somewhere else. And that's really on the lower end, because, like a place like Kentucky Lake, man, it takes 30, 45 minutes to get anywhere on that lake, so, doing your research, and just really dissecting those areas, doing as much as you can, at home, and I'm not going to say watching, looking at fishing reports. I'm not a big fan of those, but, studying the charts and whatnot, and just kind of setting yourself up with a game plan to where you kind of have that set, and not really trying to get into a, like a checklist so much to where you get, kind of tunnel vision, but just knowing what you're looking for when you get out there into those certain areas, it's going to save you a lot of time. I was reading an article not too long ago. I think it was Bass Fan or something like that, but they were interviewing Brandon Polnick and Carl Jockinson, and they were talking about one of the lakes they both did really well at. And one of the things that just kind of really stood off to me was, just how much, they knew about that lake. And Carl Jochimson was confident that he had found, an area that, he thought that none of the locals even knew about, so it just goes to show you, man, those guys, they're very detailed. They go in there, they know where every little point, every little bend in the channel is, where the likely areas are for brush piles or where the case may be. So, considering the time of year that you're fishing, what the pattern may be, just having that, real in-depth understanding is going to save you a lot of time where you can get from point A to point B, and be a lot more efficient.
And a lot of these tournaments too, whether it's national or local, they're on the same bodies of water over and over and over. So it's like, it's not like you're going to waste a bunch of time learning one body of water and then never go back, because chances are you're going to go back at some point. So it's information that can be useful later down the road too.
For sure.
So, my second one is this one that I've really focused on. I read this book on visualization, and kind of the only thing I got from that is to be hyper focused on my casting. And that's not necessarily like I obviously want to make the right presentation. I think sometimes that can make a difference for sure. But for me, like whenever you're feeling like you're all thumbs, or, sometimes you get in the kayak, things just feel wrong. Like you're just not in it. You're not in the zone or the flow or whatever kind of thing you want to call it. For me, the way I can get quickest from feeling like I'm just doing everything wrong, or it doesn't feel natural, or just not doing well, is to absolutely like make your mind up. I am going to hyper focus on each cast, each turn of the reel, everything I'm doing. I'm blocking everything else out, and I am focusing on this one exact thing. And whenever I'm able to do that, and it seems like I'm really able to focus, is the better I do. So if I'm going from just sucking or whatever it is, absolutely hyper focus. I can't stress that enough. Like every single detail of everything you're doing, and it just kind of takes me out of the world of everything else and all other problems. I just focus on that cast, exactly what I'm doing, not thinking about anything else, just focusing on that. And it puts me in it, and it's really, I feel like, been a big factor in my fishing and how I've, feel like I've gotten better over the last couple of years. If I had to pick one thing, that would probably be it. Sounds crazy, but it's a real thing for me. So
yeah, it's not crazy at all, because I kind of put it in my head that all the stuff, that all the stresses of life, everything that you're thinking about either on the way to the tournament or even on the way to the boat ramp, and you're stressed out about all of that stuff, just visualize a box. Essentially put all of those stressors in that box and realize that you're leaving that at the boat ramp. As soon as you get into your boat, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is your next cast, your next fish, and the things, like I said just before, the things that you can control. Because when you're able to do that, for me, and I realized this at Santee Cooper, after I caught my first fish, I was hyper focused on exactly what I needed to do. I made the bait change. I started catching some fish. And then I noticed that my flipping was just seamless, like going down cypress trees, flipping. And it was just like, I felt like I couldn't make a mistake because I was so in tune with myself. And that I left all of that crap that I stress about at the boat ramp, and I didn't think about none of it.
To me, it feels like going into a different gear. Like, it's like, I'm going to go old school here, like over the top, Sylvester Stallone, like turn the hat back around. Yeah. Like against Bull Hurley. Like whenever I get focused like that, it feels like I'm, now
like
I'm
you're in overdrive.
In it.
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the perfect music to get in that zone? There's like a balance. You get into metal, you get to going too hard.
Yeah.
Some is too slow. But I found that music kind of helps get in that zone a little bit too.
My favorite, I used to not listen to a lot of hip hop as a younger kid. However, I have found a style of hip hop that I really like. Now I used to listen to like Wu-Tang
Trip
Clan.
hop, Dr. Octagon.
Exactly. So some of that real life, like hip hop stuff, really gets me in tune. Like I love the beat, and I get in the zone.
Yeah.
I can't do it with country. There's no way.
No. No, that makes me want a beer.
Exactly, right? I just want to relax and have a beer and take my shirt off.
My favorite band's Alkaline Trio. So whenever I go to a ramp, that's usually when I'm trying to get, not metal, but hard, but getting into it. Alkaline Trio. That's my thing. I don't know.
It's Eminem until I collapse. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a solid really choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Sam, how about you?
Man, know when to abandon the spot you're on. Cool. You know, if you're on a spot and you pre-fished it and you did well and something changed, you know, whether it be water temp or clarity or the wind direction, or, you know, you didn't expect that much pressure to be on that spot. You know, maybe you show up and there's 8 or 10 people at your ramp and you're like, man, there's just not enough fish here. I can't share with these people, you know, know when to leave, you know. Have a plan B. And if you don't have a plan B, just take a minute and just, you know, roll the dice, man. You know, pick another ramp if you don't think you can do it. And the other one would be know when to abandon a pattern that you'd maybe put together in the past, you know, when you pre-fished or that you think might be working. I mean, I'm the world's worst at just beating the bank with a buzzbait or a jackhammer or a spinnerbait or, you know, a square bill for you know, seems like hours without a bite, you know, and it's just because it's my confidence thing. You know, if I'm not covering water, I'm not confident. I'm not the type of person to slow down and throw a Cinco or something like that. And that's what I should really work on, you know, because it gets big bites, man. It does. And I just can't do it. But that was
how long do you take before you like abandon?
Man, that's tough, you know.
I've heard some people have
it just depends.
Yeah, like a time certain, like an actual time, you know.
Yeah, like me and Dan, we fished the tournament, our first ACAT. What was it? 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? It was 2 weeks ago. So I wasted 3 hours that morning, and I was only on the water for 30 minutes of that 3 hours. Like I went to my ramp, there were 4 guys at my ramp. You know, and I got there, and I'm like, I don't have a solid plan with this many people here. I launched and I fished around for maybe 30 or 45 minutes, and I was like, I'm gonna ride upriver. And when I got upriver, it was worse than the water was worse than where I was at. So then I was like, you know, I'm gonna totally change gears. I'm gonna go all the way to the lake. And I didn't quite make it to the lake, but I made it so far downriver it would have been lake. You know, it was the tail end of the river where it came into the lake. But I still had access to a good feeder creek and a lot of good pockets and points. And, you know, so I ended up catching 4 fish that day instead of 5, which was the limit. But I had none when I got there at 10 o'clock.
I got lucky. Like, whenever I got to my ramp, I had never been there before. And 2 other guys showed up. And it was blowing so bad directly into the ramp. It was like 20, 25 mile per hour winds that day. Yeah. And storming. Like, they're like, you're a dumbass for going out there. That's how I got the ramp to myself. It didn't, you know, I was out of that 4th place. I was out of the money, so it didn't matter. But yeah, that's why I got it to myself.
I've been in those situations, I'm sure you guys have too, where you show up to the ramp and you're the only one there, and you start asking yourself, like, what am I doing? 100%. So at Santee Cooper, you know, the ramp I showed up to, there was probably 20 other guys there. So, you know, and it was the only area that I had caught more than one fish in during practice. Well, a lot of the guys went, you know, a different direction than I did. About 4 of us went down to, you know, the area where I was going. And there was quite a few guys that were coming in and out of there practice and stuff like that. But the first thing that kind of stood out to me was 2-3 hours in, there was other bass boat tournaments that were going off down the lake. Nobody else was coming down there. And I was starting to take note of that, like, this ain't good, man. You know, usually when you're in a good area, you know, people will make that run no matter how far it is. Mm-hmm. And that was one thing I was going to ask you guys. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because that's a good one. Because it's like, when do you make that decision? You know, with all the elements that you can, you know, circumstances going on around you that you can kind of add up and make that decision. It's a tough one to make, but I've wondered if anybody else has looked for that clue, like nobody else is coming into the area and you're not catching anything, you know, is it time to bail?
So
Right.
the same thing happened to me at Santee, but in the opposite way. I rolled up to the boat ramp, and there was only two other people that put in there, and I figured that this boat ramp was going to be loaded down with some people. You know, you had 180 anglers, but it was just me, Mike Elsey, and one other gentleman there, and I was like, well, I kind of feel okay if Mike is here. He knows what he's doing. Like, I feel okay, but I was like, there should be more people here. Uh, I didn't catch. I think I caught my first fish like at 11:30 though. Like, and it was just all because of that one bait change. Like, I threw a spinner bait all morning. The wind was blowing in. It seemed like it was perfect, and I kind of started. My mind started going a little bit, and after I caught that first one, I made that bait change. I was like, I'm sticking this in my hand the rest of the day. Uh, you know, but I almost ended up packing up and leaving. Like, I was this close to making that decision. If I needed to do that or not. It's tough.
Yeah,
It is tough, man.
That's the toughest one.
It is. It's one of the toughest decisions, especially, you know, when you have current to go back up against. Where I put in at, I didn't put it in there during the practice, and I found out that it was much closer ramped where I was going. And I get to going, and dude, I'm doing like 6 miles an hour. I'm like, holy crap, man, there's current in here. And then the first thing I think is, holy crap, there's current in here. I got to go against that if I want to come back. So that was also a big deterrent, you know, on making that decision to go back. Because, you know, essentially when I went back at the end of the day, I was doing, you know, maybe a mile and a half, you know, a mile an hour, you know, up that river. It was pretty bad. So it's one of the toughest decisions to make for sure.
All right, Kyler, what's your second one?
And so this one's, you can take this literal or you can take it, you know, metaphorically, but, you know, don't forget your toilet paper. You literally don't forget your toilet paper. For one, I always keep at least one roll in the boat, but for two, you know, every time that I'm on the water, something excuse my French, but the oh shit factor kicks in. Something happens. And you just got to be prepared for it. Like, my whole thing for 2023 is just the mentality. And that's part of that. It's just, you got to be prepared for any situation that might happen. You just never know. Like, you may run into a boater that you get into it with them. You have to keep yourself cool. You don't know what's going to happen. Right. You may be faced with a 14-foot alligator. Like I had found one to my left at Santee Cooper and didn't realize that he was even there. But when I looked over, he was smiling at me. And it's just like, okay, like, I got to be ready for that. So yeah, it was not fun. But he stayed where he was at. I went on by, and it kind of made me a little bit more comfortable. But like, those situations that you find yourself in, you got to be prepared for it. So, you know, I got to ask y'all, like, what do you guys do to prepare for like those oh shit moments? Like, do you guys have any situations that you found yourself in? You're kind of, man, I wish I had my toilet paper.
I've got too many oh shit stories, man. More than I want to admit.
Yeah, you know, it was Gunnersville was a good example of that, you know, and we were just talking about when to abandon an area, but my oh shit moment was in practice that Thursday. I went into Belafonte not knowing that there was a boat ramp in the back of Belafonte.
Yeah.
So I went from Mud Creek all the way around in late afternoon.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Luckily I had my motor, so like I wasn't paddling that the whole way, but I had gotten on a fluke bite. I had one pop out of the water that it had to have been 3 or 4 pounds. I had 2 20-inchers that I had tried not to hook, but I did because it's just that much fun. And I was like, I have to leave. Well, that tournament day comes and I find out that there's a boat ramp there. And when I pull up, there's like 30 freaking trailers there. And I end up putting in, but you know, it was just one of those oh shit moments. And I've just got to adjust and get prepared for a lot more pressure than I originally had thought. So, yeah, just bring your toilet paper, be prepared for everything.
I read this book. I've said this before. I read a lot of stuff on stoicism. I enjoy it. And there's a book called The Obstacle Is a Way. by Ryan Holiday, and it's just, like I think about that a lot. Like it's not the bad thing that happens, it's how quick you can get past that to the next thing. Like
Yeah.
if you're, like it's something bad's going to happen. Like if you have a milk run of spots, somebody's always going to be on your spot, or I mean, whatever it is, you just have the real thing is getting to the next thing or getting past that as quickly as possible, both mentally and literally sometimes, but just moving. The quicker you can move on, the better you are on the water.
Yeah. I always like to keep Murphy's Law in the back of my head. Whatever can happen will happen. So I'm always thinking about that, anywhere I go on the lake or if I'm in some backwaters, everything that can happen to me, or whether that's good or bad, will happen. So,
and seems to happen quite often.
Oh,
Especially for
100%.
me.
Yeah.
That tree that you thought you're going to skip that Cinco underneath, nope. You just wrap your line all around those branches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dustin, how about you, man?
Man, my second one's going to be to just kind of simplify things. Kind of going along with what a lot of you guys are talking about, but this is kind of more geared towards, the newer angler. And we're all tackle geeks. We all love buying a bunch of stuff, and we all want to carry it with us as much as possible. But it really gets in your head, It's a real problem. But I've seen it a lot. I've been witness. I mean, I've been guilty of it myself plenty of times. And it starts to get in your head just because, when you've got 15 colors of Cincos in there, you're thinking, man, it's not the green pumpkin blue. It's going to be the green pumpkin purple, and then before you know it, every 5 casts you're swapping out a Cinco and you got a deck full of them. And instead, it could be a matter of like what Sam was saying, just cover water, put the rod in front of you and just start cover water. And so, that's one thing that I'm still working on myself a little bit, but I try to keep it in the back of my head, like Kyler with Murphy's Law, and just bass are not that. I just personally, I try to apply a lot of just simple logic into fishing. I really don't think that fish can see those minute little different colors down there. You're talking about an area where there's not much sunlight as it is, unless it's like really clear water. And when, we as anglers, we have all these tools at our disposal and we want to, use them all because, hey, we bought them, we spent our money on them, we want to use them. So it just starts getting into your head and overcomplicates things. Bass eat, they eat shad, which are essentially white. They eat bluegill and brim and perch. It's not that complicated. So it's more about if you're not really getting bit, it's probably not so much the color. It can be at times, but it's more oftentimes you're not in the right area. There's something about that area where there's not the right habitat. Water's dropped in there, the water color's changed. So maybe make some other changes instead of swapping out a bunch of different Cincos. But that's my number 2.
I mean, you can listen to Swindle on that. He's like, he carries a brown jig and a black and blue jig, a black and blue trailer and a green pumpkin jig. And sometimes whenever things get crazy, he'll swap them. Like that, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of what we hear, in the book is meant to sell to fishermen. The red, red is one of the colors that bass see. Why would that change from, the wintertime or colder months to the summer months? Mm-hmm. When we're on Gunnersville, the first fish that I caught in practice, it had a crawfish in its mouth, and it was that was February, wasn't it? Kyler, I think it was.
No, it was like
March
it was either late February, March 3rd.
Yeah, early March, man. You're thinking red. There was not a red anything on that crawfish at all. It was green and brown. And so, I mean, that told me right there. I was like, dude, the red. I mean, it's more of a water clarity thing, I think, than so much. That's what they're eating. It's that red colored crawfish. And I know there's a scientist out there that could probably disprove me of that, but I just think, in terms of there's so many variables that we can get ourselves wrapped up in as fishermen that we just confuse ourselves. And if we can simplify things as much as possible, I think we'll be better off.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, I'm talking to you on this one. sometimes you have to go finesse.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Gross.
not picking on you, man. But
And I own one spinning rod. That's it.
yeah, I can honestly like
One.
I'm weird. People say like, oh, well, you know, how do you fish? Like I really do a little bit of everything, but mine are like I'm on one end and or the other. It's either like swim jig, frog, big top water, or it's like spinning rod. Like I don't throw a lot of things in the middle. Like as I think you know, I'll throw a chatterbait, spinnerbait, and all that stuff sometimes. But sorry, but a lot of my stuff is like big grass stuff and super finesse. I'm very strange that way.
It works.
I'm very strange in a lot of ways, but that's one of them. But but yeah, sometimes you know you don't want to start like on that Lake Martin event. The biggest fish I caught was an 18 on wacky rig, and a foot of water way underneath the dock in a pocket, and I caught a spot. Don't I have never caught a spot in a place like that before in my life. It had to have been spawning, but you know, sometimes you just have to pull out the spinning gear or the bait finesse or whatever it is. Don't be and this isn't for everybody. I mean, you know, a lot of people throw them like me, and that's cool. I would say for people that throw it a lot, try not to start with that. Have the mentality, do the opposite. Don't go finesse. Don't start out finesse unless it's the conditions are just crap and you're just hoping to get 5 fish. I mean, sometimes that's the plan and all you can do. And maybe you run in something, but if you go finesse all the time, try not to go finesse. And if you never go finesse, try to go finesse. Because either way, you know, sometimes finesse or trying to go big and trying to get that bigger bite and go for the throat and actually trying to win one. Either both ends of that spectrum can be the right answer sometimes. But try whichever one you're not doing, try that one sometimes.
I don't even think that my
very
spinning
general.
stuff is finesse, though. I don't even consider my spinning rod finesse. I still have like 30 pound braid with like a
Really?
15-pound leader. And not like that's with my wacky rig Senko, but like it is a medium heavy extra fast rod with a 3,000 sized reel. Like, you know, but granted, like I never have fished anywhere that's like super clear other than Lake Champlain. Everything in Kentucky has color to it. Everything in Tennessee or anywhere that I have fished, I always try to find that water that has a little bit of color to it, because then I can go heavier. I can throw my big jigs. I can throw a big flipping bait. I have a tube that I throw. It's like a 4.5-inch tube, and it's like a cuss. They don't even make it anymore, but it's probably one of the biggest tubes that I've ever seen, and I can catch fish on it. And it's just a confidence thing for me, but I don't know. To me, I can throw a Ned rig if I really have to, but it pains me to have to sit there and throw a Ned rig. I just can't do it.
Yeah. I love it. I have 3 spinning rods, and they all have 12-pound braid to either 6/8 or 10-pound. I carry all 3 leader spools, so I depend on what I'm doing. I put different leader on there, but they all have 12-pound braid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Sam. I carry one spinning rod at best.
There you go.
Most of the time, mine stays in the truck.
Bring it with you sometimes, bud.
Sam, it's probably Sam's banana. He just doesn't want to bring it onto the boat. It's bad luck for him bringing a spinning rod.
Look at our buddy Chuck. I mean, he won Coleman Angler of the Year last year, and that man does not bring a spinning rod ever. So I'm not saying
dirt baits.
Yeah, you don't have to, but I've caught the last 2 years. I've weighed in more fish on a wacky rig than I have any other bait. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That
thing's a fish catching machine. There's no doubt about it. Oh yeah. I need to show it more love than I do, because I'm just stubborn like that. But you know, I caught my biggest one on Santee throwing a wacky rig Senko, like a 19-inch, and I kind of locked those two rods. I was kind of alternating between that and a Texas rig, and started catching a few, but it was definitely something that I had to force myself to throw.
And that's, I mean, for me, it's been all the way from Okeechobee to everywhere I've been. And like, I went to Texas year before last, and caught a 24 on a 8-pound line and a megabass Okashira. So I mean, it can catch big fish too. So don't. I mean, sometimes it'll only catch little ones, but sometimes they go in finesse, like an 8-3 on Gunnersville I caught a couple of years ago. That was on a Nico rig. Like, seems like a lot of my bigger bites come on either something really big and are way up in the grass, or super finesse too. So I don't know.
Do you find that you do you have to work a finesse? I mean, a wacky rig more often to get the bite, or is it usually hit for you on the fall? Like if you're skipping it up under a tree or up around grass.
It's usually on that fall. Like,
yeah,
you can pull it out a little bit and do a little bit of twitching and do whatever, but most of the time they're either, if they're there, they're going to bite it. Like, it's not like you have to spend a lot of time bringing it out and put a lot of action to it. If they're going to bite it, they would have bought it. That they would have bitten it pretty much as soon as you put it in there.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I just wondered if there's, I like to learn from other people that throw it a lot more. If they have even more success, kind of working it a little bit more and stuff like that, or just usually on that fall. But
yeah, I'll throw it in the nastiest every now and then. Like, I was fishing, it was a Logan Martin event, and or some, I don't remember where it was. I threw it. I mean, I throw it in the nastiest places. You'd be like, man, you'd never throw anything finesse under there, and I will put it in the middle. Places a bait has never been, and catch them and get them out, and just don't be afraid of get good line, tie a good knot, and it's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Sam, how about you?
My third one is, we put a lot of stress on ourselves, prepared for a tournament, or, pre-fishing for a tournament, or worried about, the fish going to be there, how many people are going to be there. Just go fishing. At the end of the day, man, just go fishing and just leave everything at the ramp. Quit worrying about everything. A lot of times that's what's best. I've had some of my best success on days where I didn't pre-fish at all. Just went fishing.
Yeah.
But that's really about it. Just go fishing. Just have a good time.
It's so easy to get caught up in, if you have some sponsors, or your family is watching Tourney X or whatever it is, just putting a lot of undue stress on yourself. It does not help.
Nah, not at all.
In any way.
No.
Yeah. I try to look at that stress as like pressure is a good thing. Now I may be weird in saying that, but for me, if my fiance's watching Tourney X, or if I know that my dad's watching Tourney X and following along, and that adds pressure for me, and it kind of amplifies that focus a little bit. Now I know that it can get to some people, and it gets under their skin, and they start making mistakes, and that I think just comes with time, just time of more tournaments, getting yourself under those pressure situations to kind of, okay, now I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with this amount of pressure. I'm comfortable, and it's not bothering me. It's actually going to help me amplify my focus in the next cast or whatever.
There you go. Kyler, what's your last one, man?
Man, my last one is one that I'm really OCD about, and it's line management. I'm kind of like Brandon Polinick. I spend a whole lot of money on line every year. Fluoro, I don't know. I just, for me, it goes back to the controllable. And if I feel like that my line is compromised in any way, like, I'm going to switch that whole spool out. I don't add leader knots. I don't do any of that with my bait cast stuff. I don't do braid to leader knots. Most of my stuff is straight fluoro, and it's just one of those things that I know a lot of people, it's hard for a lot of people to be able to afford to do that because fluoro is expensive. But at the very least, like, check your knot often as you think about it. Just keep checking your knots. Look up about, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet up your line. See if there's any kinks at all, because that's where your breaks are going to happen. If it's further down in the spool, yeah, you could probably get away with that, no problem, and then deal with it after the tournament. But that first 4 to 5 feet of your fluoro is crucial. And so I'm constantly checking, I'm constantly changing my fluoro. Even if I take half a spool off and I do a lead or not, and I spool on another half while I'm on the water, at least I know that second half that's in the water is going to be okay. So just keep an eye on your line. It is the most important connection that you have with catching a fish. The hook doesn't matter if it breaks.
What kind of fluoro do you use?
Man, so I've bounced between a lot. Now, do you want like the best fluoro that I think, or do you want the best budget-friendly fluoro that I think?
Whatever you want, man. Yeah, both.
Okay, so like the best budget fluoro that you can possibly get is the Yozuri T7. It's $15 for a 200-yard spool. I can use it for a good while before you really start seeing the memory really pop, really start showing really bad in the line. As far as like the best fluoro, it's not a major brand, but Defiant Fishing, who I'm partnered with, they make all of their fluoro is made from Japan, in one of the same factories as one of the top brands that comes from Japan itself. But I've not had a single issue out of any of their stuff at all. Now I've tried Sunline. Sunline's all right. I've had more breakages on Sunline. I love Seagar. Seagar's top notch. I just can't really afford the Tatsu for as much as I change my line out. The Invisex is really good. I've used the Red Line a lot, or Red Label. So
Invisex, what I've been using for years and years.
Yeah, it's top notch stuff. But I would suggest trying some of that Yozuri T7 stuff, or even just the regular Yozuri. It's like $10 for a 200-yard spool if you're really on a budget. That will suffice. It'll get the job done. It's abrasion resistance is pretty up there.
Cool. Justin, last one, man.
Man, mine's going to come in the wake of the forward-facing sonar crave. I know it's all the talk. I love talking about this on my show and stuff as well, but and I'm all for it. But just do not lose sight of everything else that fishing was built on. All the important things that are going on around you. I've heard this too many times, man, and it really just kind of upset me. This kind of makes me cringe. Is people that have not been fishing for very long, are saying or getting this technology and thinking that it's going to be the answer to all their questions. And that is just not the case at all. There's still so much to learn. There's still so many variables to consider. All the, everything going on around you, the birds, the water conditions, the water clarity, just bass behavior in general, man. There's so much to learn. I feel like before anyone should ever, dive into that technology. And there is a lot to learn from that technology as well. But, in this wake of this technology and the push for it and stuff like that, I personally would not suggest it to new anglers and stuff like that. Get out there and just enjoy it, man. Enjoy being in the outdoors. Look for those birds, those different kinds of birds, that are, diving. All those little clues that you can pick up on that essentially are going to lead you to where these fish are or where they're not. So, appreciate the technology and use it, as you develop in your skills and stuff. Apply it when and where you can. But don't get so locked into it, man, because there's a lot going on around you that you can miss out on real quick. That can also point you in the right direction, essentially.
For sure. Cool. Well, man, all those were great. Hopefully everybody found, at least if you can just pick one and then start down a path of trying to adapt that into your own fishing. Hopefully it's helped. Want to give everybody a chance to shout out whoever makes fishing easier for you. We'll start with you, Sam. And where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Sam Cox 2537. Facebook just Sam Cox. The only company I officially work with is the Yak Shack in Pelham. Just a
Yak
local
Shack.
kayak- Yeah, that's right. Just a local kayak shop here in Birmingham. Actually in Pelham, just right outside Birmingham. So
Good people for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kyler?
Oh, where do I start? Honestly,
Tell
I want to just.
them about the trail too.
Oh yeah. I'll definitely mention that. But first, I kind of just want to thank my very first partnership that I've ever had was with Strictly Sailed. Brian and everybody up there in Cincinnati, they run a top-notch shop. They'll hook you up with everything that you need. You just call Brian, or if he doesn't have it on his website, he probably has it in the store, and it's probably not on his site yet. He gets tons of stuff every week. He'll hook you up with whatever you need. But yeah, they've been nothing but great to me, and yeah. So there's that, and then I run Bluegrass Kayak Anglers based out of Kentucky. We have a great trail. We're 100% payout. We're a nonprofit organization. We're giving away a new canoe loaded down with like a Garmin unit, a bunch of Yak Attack stuff. It's going to be tournament ready. We do raffles at every single event. We have an event this weekend on Green River Lake this Saturday. It's a $50 entry fee for members. You don't have to be a member to fish it. It'll be $60 for non-members. But it'll be a great time. Like I said, I think before we were talking about it, past 3 weeks, it's been like 19 to 21 pounds. We'll take it to win local bass tournaments out of there right now. And it's just getting better. So it's a relatively smaller lake, but the bass fishing is really good there right now. So check us out. We got bluegrasskayakanglers.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Just give us a follow. If you have any questions, you can add me on Facebook, and I'll help you out with whatever I can.
Cool. And God bless all the TDs out there that make all this possible.
Yes.
I have a whole new appreciation for it.
Oh, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Man, I just want to take the opportunity to just kind of plug an event that we got coming up. One of my sponsors, S.Y. Wilson and Company, and Primary Tackle out here in Arlington, Tennessee. This is our second year doing a St. Jude charity tournament. It's actually being ran in conjunction with what has been called the St. Jude St. Jude Bass Classic. That tournament has been held on Sardis Lake out here in Mississippi. Not a very well-known, popular lake, but it puts out about 20, 25 pounds, each year to win it. And this is the second year running that we are going to be having a kayak tournament on Lake Enid, which is just 15 minutes up the road. That's going to be held on Saturday, that weekend of Memorial Day weekend. Enid Lake is not a really big pleasure boater lake, and there's a lot of really awesome backwater. We gave away a Hobie passport last year, but this is a really big opportunity for us as kayak anglers, as this sport is really growing, and we're able to, actually, generate a lot of money to give back, and to children in need and other charitable donation type things. So we're teaming up with them. The St. Jude Bass Classic has raised over $4.5 million. This is their 50th year anniversary. We're going to have a lot of big giveaways and stuff like that. S.Y. Wilson's going to be there with giveaways. My sponsor, Corky's, they're going to be supplying everybody with a meal. But you guys,
Corky's barbecue, right?
That's it.
Man, how the heck do you get a barbecue sponsor, bro? I need to seriously take some notes.
And come out here, man. We'll feed you up, dude. But yeah, it's going to be a great time, man. We're just trying to build this thing up, and there's a lot of good anglers in the Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama area, and we'd love to encourage you all to come out. But I'm going to be doing a show on my podcast, Lines of Yak Fishing, this Friday at 6 p.m. Central, and we'll be talking a little bit more about it. The entry fee for that is like $100, so love to have you out.
Cool, and great show too. If y'all haven't listened to it, please do. I
appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Podcast, man.
I'll be honest, man. I've kind of been absent the past few months, but just needed some time off from it. But,
man, the podcast is a grind. I definitely understand.
It is, man.
I know the life,
especially when you start a new job, man. So that's been my deal here lately. But
I hear you.
Thanks,
well, cool. Well, appreciate y'all being on, and thanks everybody for listening. We'll see y'all again next week. Take it easy.
Take it easy, guys.